Once a conger eel gets over 10 pounds, there's a good chance it could mutate. Luckily, the fish we caught this time weigh in at 30 pounds. The fishing process was super thrilling. You must be curious about how we managed to catch such a big fish. At first, the fisherman's bait was just small snappers, but he had a lot of them, filling an entire water tank. He used the long enough fishing method, which involves dropping 1,000 hooks at once. This method almost guarantees a big haul. It's so effective that before he even finished setting the lines, the float started spinning, signaling that a fish was already hooked. But instead of reeling it in right away, the fisherman waited until the next day to haul in the catch. His lead sinker was as big as a grenade, meaning the hook had sunk deep into the sea. He was fully prepared to catch something big from the deep. The first set of lines came up with little effort, revealing a massive shadow that looked like a monster. The leopard-like pattern on the fish's body shocked the fisherman. It was a huge grouper weighing over 20 pounds. As it was dragged to the side of the boat, its mouth wide open, the fisherman tried to pull it aboard, but the fish was as heavy as a 500-pound dumbbell. The young fisherman couldn't manage it alone and had to call his father for help. Together, they finally got the fish on board. The fish was so big it filled up the small boat. At the market price of $300 per pound, this fish could fetch at least $5,000 to $6,000 back home. To keep it alive, the young fisherman decided to catch another one. Soon enough, he found the second set of lines. What did he catch this time? It turned out to be a thick conger eel. If it hadn't been tightly bound by the fishing line, it could have easily been the kid. Luckily, it couldn't move. The eel was heavy, and the young fisherman struggled a bit. Today's catch were all big ones, seemingly larger than him. But kids need to build their skills, and this time he didn't rely on his father. Using his own skills, he managed to bring the large conger eel aboard to join the grouper. It's amazing. Wild conger eels can sell for $600 per pound, making this one worth over $10,000. Just these two fish could cover all the fishing costs and leave some extra money for candy. It's hard to imagine what kind of fish he'll catch next. Just as they were about to open the water gate, another big fish was caught. This yellowish fish is actually a green grouper, also known as a spotted catfish, as a high-end fish with both ornamental and edible value. It's rarer than the previous groupers. A fish of this quality can easily sell for $400 to $500 per pound. Such good fortune landed on the young fisherman. He kept fishing and soon caught another white fish, but unfortunately, it was already dead, so he decided to keep it for himself. 3 minutes later, he caught another yellowish fish. Initially, he thought it was another green grouper, but it turned out to be another huge conger eel. Its sharp fangs scared him, making him almost let it escape back into the sea. Luckily, his father helped control the fish at the crucial moment, preventing it from escaping. His father found the eel's teeth terrifying and quickly covered it with a net. Initially, they planned to reel in the net, but unexpectedly, they caught another giant red grouper. It was the first time I'd seen such a big red grouper, and it seemed priceless. While packing it up, the fisherman noticed a funny scene. The conger eel had somehow gotten into the grouper's gills, and the two fish were tangled together. They then headed to the seafood wholesale market at the village entrance. The fish caught today weighed over 100 pounds, but they only got 4,580 pesos from the boss. Even with the rich fisheries resources in the Philippines, it's surprising the value dropped so much. Was it because the child was seen as easy to deceive? What do you think? Feel free to comment below. The child's fishing skills were even more impressive. After finally catching a few big squids, instead of taking them home to make fish soup, he used them as bait. Where did he get the confidence not to lose money? This wasn't all. After setting the lines, unlike other fishermen who watch intently, he leisurely ate dessert, seemingly unconcerned. But in reality, his sharpness surpassed many peers. He sensed the fish biting immediately, crouched down, and entered a first-level combat state, pulling the line forcefully and skillfully reeling it in. Even with a disabled leg, his balance was unaffected. However, this fish was quite difficult to handle. Despite being only 10, he used all his strength to barely drag the big fish out of the water. This bright red fish was a nearly 10-pound red grouper. This indeed was admirable. The reward for using more expensive fish as bait, with the market price of red grouper at $500 per pound. This time he not only made a profit but also had money left over. Seeing the method was effective, the young fisherman took another half-pound squid from the tank and threw it into the sea. This time, the fish bit almost instantly after the bait hit the water. The boy's face was filled with panic and urgency, indicating this fish was exceptionally strong. The line pulled him, almost making him fall into the sea, so he stepped back to observe again. At this point, the fish was struggling the most, and there was no need to waste energy fighting it head-on. he changed his strategy, ensuring the fish couldn't escape and it didn't exhaust himself, waiting for it to tire out and surface on its own. 3 minutes later, he pulled up a bronze-colored fish. Although not as big as he imagined, it was rare. It was a valuable tiger grouper, also very expensive. Then he threw another big squid into the sea. What kind of surprise awaited him this time? This time, the result wasn't as quick. The boy nearly fell asleep waiting for a bite. He quickly regained his focus and started reeling in the line. After sufficient rest, he was full of energy and soon reeled in a big fish. This fish looked familiar. It was another bright red grouper. His luck was indeed fantastic. The young fisherman was overjoyed, quickly tossing the fish into the water tank to keep it alive until they sold it at the market. Finally, he baited the largest squid, hoping the next catch would be even more valuable. Would things go as he wished? 5 minutes later, another big fish bit the hook. The boy instinctively pulled the line to set the hook, but the fish's strength was so great, it pulled him down onto the boat edge. He quickly adjusted, using his disabled leg as a pivot, shifting his weight to counter the fish's powerful pulls, ultimately winning the struggle. Upon seeing it, it was a tiger grouper, weighing at least 7 to 8 pounds. The fish he caught today, if sold back home, could easily earn a month's salary for most people. But in the Philippines, fishermen don't have it so easy. In the end, they only got 5,300 pesos at the seafood market. Although it wasn't as much as expected, for a disabled young fisherman, this income made him very satisfied. Follow me to discover a new world every day.